Well, good morning, or good afternoon or evening, whenever you're listening to this. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Wisdom. I'm your host, Robin Blank Muscari, and we get together twice a month to share wonderful thought leaders to support you in your personal and professional development. And I love the quote from Jim Rohn, and Jim says, work twice as hard on your business, on yourself, as you do on your business, because you are your business. So this morning, and today we get to welcome a very special guest on a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And I think a lot of you know that, leadership. And you know, a little bit about this business, to really maximize the opportunity in this profession. Leverage is the key. And there's not a better way to leverage yourself than to have leaders in your team. And so we want to support you today with a guest that's going to share a little bit about For the Love of Leadership. I just love that title. So let me introduce our special guest. She's someone I've known for a very long time, and she grew up in the direct sales profession with her mother, who many of you know, Nikki Keohohou, and she has a love of the direct sales profession because of it. They co-founded together the Direct Selling World Alliance. That is, I can't believe it's 21 years already. I was there in the very early stages and providing resources and support for our profession, for people in the field and for companies. And so she's worked with some of the largest companies all over the world, has traveled to 30 different countries, speaking, writing, educational programs. She's co-author of 3 best-selling books, Build It Big, More Build It Big, and the other one is called The Mom Entrepreneur Extraordinaire. And this woman is a gift to every audience she's in front of them. She has the name that says who she is, but she sparkles with light. And it is just, when I first met her, my heart got deeply touched, and she's a gift to all of us. So let me welcome Grace Keohohou. Is it how or ho?
Yes, how? Oh my
How?
goodness. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Robin. It's such a joy to be here with you and Gregory virtually. And thank you for this invitation. It's an honor to be able to be with each and every one of you who have dedicated the time and committed the time to your personal and professional development. It says a lot about you. Oftentimes when I'm extended the gift of being able to speak into people's lives, I see it as a gift. It's not a given. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, well, I'm very happy to be with you today. And let's see if this gallery view is going to work for us today. So, leadership, and a lot of people hear it. And I remember learning the term from you guys, oh, long time ago, accidental leaders. As there's a lot of people that end up in a leadership position in our profession, but really have no background, no training, don't really know what it is. And so how about if we talk about what is leadership, and then what are those things that we want to attract in other people? But let's start out with defining. How do you define leadership, Grace?
My goodness, I've had the privilege of working with so many different leaders from a variety of organizations, and I observe them. What do they like? What do they say? What do they do? How do they show up? And one thing that I'll share is that leadership is not a position. It really is a way of being. How do we, it reminds me of a conversation I had with a leader in her home one day. She said, Grace, I feel like I'm carrying my people. And I said, where do you feel like you're carrying them? She says, I feel like I'm carrying them on my shoulders. And I said, and how does that feel? She goes, it feels heavy. And I said, and where is your goal in proximity to where we're at right now in this moment? Like, give me a place here in your office. And she showed me a place, and she said, there's my goal. I said, from the moment I met you, you are the person that will find a way to get to that goal. You will crawl, skip, run. You'll walk all the way there. You'll get there eventually. That's how determined you are. The challenge is that if they're on your back, you'll get there and everyone else will get there. They're just going to get there a lot slower than they would have if you walked together collectively, that you are a collective movement versus carrying them. And so leadership is not about doing it for you. It is about modeling a best practice. Charisma is not duplicatable, systems are. So creating a structure and a system that people can mimic and be to make it, almost make it their own. It's not about comparing. It is about really owning our own strengths. What are we naturally gifted and talented at, and leveraging that talent. Really looking, we're in the people business. So this is another important point. I was talking to a woman yesterday, as a matter of fact, and she said, Grace, I have some fear around some certain things. And I said, when we're in fear, we're focused on self. We're very attuned to ourselves, how we're feeling, how we're showing up, how we look, how we sound, versus when we are focused on others, adding value, contribution, making a difference, looking for what another person aspires to. What is their vision? What's their mission possible? When our focus is on someone else, we walk in more competent, confident. We're more magnetic. And so these are, to me, some things about leadership. I did prepare a deck, though, for you, because I like to go out and I like to interview people. Just like you, Miss Robin, like drop it like it's hot, like that. You are wise to do this because, in the process of giving someone else an opportunity to contribute, you're also receiving. So I want you to all do that for me for a moment. Even if you're driving, not driving. If you're in a seated position or a standing position, move your hands like this. Say, I get to give and I get to receive. There is reciprocity here. And there's a reason why I even just did that. So sometimes on these Zooms, or sometimes during our day conference calls and so forth, our minds, on average, the adult can have about a 10 to 15 minute attention span. And with kids, I'll always remember this. I went to teach, I collaborate with Microsoft, and we were doing a STEM conference for young students. And I was finding that they were looking for activities every 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, talk about snappy experiences. I would have lost them at hello if I waited 10 minutes. And so it was so cute. By the end of it, they're like, Miss Grace, where did you get your inspiration? The other one was like, do you have a TED Talk? And then the final person that asked the question, he was like, oh, how did you get to collaborate with Microsoft? It was so cute, Robin. I was like, oh my gosh. So this movement I've asked you to do is very intentional, because it's like a reset for you. Just like you're resetting your health and your vitality and well-being with these products, this is a reset for the mind, for the people that are interacting with you. If they're sitting too long, the information will start to fly over in one ear out the other. So this is a accelerated learning technique. So even if your facilitator won't request for you to move, I encourage you to make it happen. Yes. Thoughts, comments on any of this, Miss Robin, or from the group?
Yes, several actually. You started out and talked about strengths, and you probably know about the Gallup Strength Finder. So often people are looking at, how do I strengthen my weaknesses versus operating from our strengths. Makes such a difference when you're, building your own leadership and looking for leaders instead of trying, because no one's good at everything, and so as a leader, we're looking for how can we bring forth the strengths in other people, right?
Oh my goodness. And awaken them, create a space for them to recognize them, acknowledge them, make use of them. Absolutely, Robin. And I had this great conversation with a woman out of Australia. I'll always remember that. It's interesting how much we can discover and learn, how much fruitful insight is available to us when we'll simply ask questions. And so this woman, she shared with me, she goes, Grace, I feel like there is this expectation that I've got to make. People tell me all the time, well, you got to make your weaknesses stronger. You got to make your weaknesses stronger. And I asked her, I said, and how does that make you feel? And she goes, I feel like I'm not enough. I feel like I'm comparing myself to other people. I feel like I don't have what it takes. And then I said, well, what if you were able to make your strengths stronger? How would you feel about that? Something that already came naturally for you. She goes, I could do that. Yeah. She goes, I could do that. And she was crying. She was emotional. She was very much in the moment of how it felt to be focused on weakness and how depleting and defeating it was. So when we're even having conversation, even in the process of introducing someone to the business, it's asking them, what are some of your strengths? What are some of the things that come naturally for you? What are some of the talents? What are some of the things that you're bringing to this business? Because sometimes we can treat people like babies coming into this business, like they don't know anything. I mean, they're coming with sometimes 20, 18, 20, 30, 50, 100, 100 years of experience into this business. And so rather than compartmentalizing and saying, okay, here we go again, we're going to start anew, it is, well, what are you bringing with you? And how will that serve your vision and mission? And so this is something to consider asking people so that they are looking at their strengths and leveraging those, because those are already strong for them. So one thing I learned from a top leader years ago, and I've applied it to my life, she says, every time I talk to my team, I ask them, what did you succeed at and what did you learn? What did you succeed at? What were your victories this week? And what did you learn? She said, I don't ask them what they succeeded at and failed at. She goes, I don't see it as a failure. I see it as a process. I see it as an evolution. I see it as a learning opportunity to refine and define and improve. And so it's not a failure. And so that, I think, is something to consider as we're leading others, is to ask the question so they can reflect on, these were some of my victories and these were some of my learning opportunities. Okay, now what will you do with those learning opportunities to advance, to create momentum in your business? So yeah, this is my first cup of coffee, I promise.
No, it's totally fine. Well, I love that, because I was in the career field for many years, and we talked about the distinction between skills and strengths. Skill is something you can learn. A strength is something that you naturally have, and you have a passion to want to do more of it. And so building on strengths. And so I know you've got some things to share with us today. You want to pull up your screen?
Sure, it would be an honor to.
It's so fun to see you. I just have to tell you, I'm distracted with seeing you. And just so everyone knows, Nick and Grace and I haven't seen each other in a long time. So
yes, it has been a hot minute. That is for sure. Let me pull up my screen here, and I am so grateful to see you. I admire and honor who you are as people. You and your husband, Gregory, I have loved you from the moment I met you. And so it feels like a privilege to be able to be here with you. You met me when I really couldn't stand to speak. Like you could not, I mean, it was like doing something like this was like a root canal. And I don't think I've ever had a root canal. I think that more people have explained, though, what a root canal feels like.
Right.
That was how I felt about all of this. So anyone can relate to that, just raise your pinky, raise the roof if you're like, oh, I don't want to do this business because I don't want to talk in front of people, or I don't want to go on screen, or I don't want to go live, or I don't want to share a message. Practice makes permanent. Practice makes permanent. So whenever even to this day, I'm like, I'm going to go practice sharing the good news. I'm going to go practice having conversations with people. And so I don't take myself so seriously that I confine myself. It's like, hey, this is practice. And so if you ever have had an area of opportunity when it comes to speaking and teaching and facile to make easy for someone else, keep that in mind. I practice.
Before you jump in, because you just said practice makes permanent, and I don't know if you can briefly tell your early practice story around the table, the boardroom with the teddy bears.
Oh my gosh, Robin, you remember that?
That's one of my favorite stories, and I think it really embodies what we're living here is, you were practicing, and, I heard it from your mom. So if you could
Oh,
just briefly share the power of practice and what happened
oh,
because of how old were you when you did that?
oh my goodness. I was probably 6 or 7 years old.
Okay.
And so this is so funny because I actually, a gentleman was grooming me to present to Visa. Okay, Visa Corporation, the swipe Visa. And they were like, you have an opportunity to present to them your value proposition. And what would you like to say when you know that time is of the essence? So this is fast forward to today. Okay, I wasn't presenting to Visa at 6 and 7. Okay, I better frame this story up. It reawakened though this remembrance of I was born to do this. There was a season though that I didn't realize that I was born to do it. And I remember when I was a little girl, we had, a kitchen table, and then we had a dining room area. And I set my stuffed animals out, and they were all at every table. And I was at the front of the table, and I was presenting to my stuffed animals. I was at the front of the board table, making things happen. I was, sharing the good, sharing the vision, very passionate about what I was doing. And I really don't know what I was doing at that point. I was passionate though about this message. It was so funny. And I would be on where people were playing dollies and Barbies. I was on conference calls. So I would be over in our little nook. And at the time, those were the days when the phone was hooked up to the wall. You know what I mean? Like there was a cord. And it was mounted to the wall. I don't think it was one of the circular ones. For those of you who are older, you'll know, or wiser, I'll say. For those of you who are fresh, you may, find those in museums. Anyways, so it was hooked up here, and I'm on conference calls. I'm talking to people. I'm writing notes down. And I reflected back when we were invited to the table in New York. We went to go do a project, and there's a story behind that. We went to go do a project for an organization, a global organization in New York, and we're standing, and then I'm standing, and at the end of the day, we delivered a message to a specific group of influential people within this company, and I'm standing there, and I started crying, and my mom's looking at me. She's like, Chris, what's going on? What's happening? And I was like, oh my gosh, I did this already. I did this when I was a baby, and I stood in front of my stuffed animals and I delivered to the board. And she was like, oh, and who knows if she, I'm sure she knew that I was doing that, because I would do it a lot because I thought it was so fun. Anyways, it's interesting how life comes full circle. And sometimes sometimes we forget the reason that we're here. We forget the purpose that we have, and how we have choices to live with passion. That's something that my mother just did an interview with a gentleman by the name of John Fleming. He used to be the chief editor for Direct Selling News, which is one of the most prestigious publications other than Social Selling News in our profession. And every executive has one of those on their desk. So this is John Fleming. And my mother interviewed him last week, and what he shared, which is a very important point, is that choice is going to be the word for 2022. I want you to think about 2020. What were our choices? Oh, you're going to stay home. You're going to homeschool. You're going to be grounded. You will not be dining out. And then, maybe it's not the same for you, Robin, and in Montana, for other places like where I live in Hawaii, that was the case. So then we have 2021. We're thinking, we're running out of the gate. We've got this. And then, oh no, you're going to wear a mask. Oh, wait. And so people are looking for choices, options, and possibilities. So we all have a choice to live our passion, or to just, and I like to call it, create a life by design versus live a life by default. So
Love it.
those are a few thoughts that are coming to my mind.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, when Grace was 6, she sat around a table with her teddy bears, and she was at the head of the board table. And it manifested in a high rise in New York City with an international organization a few years later. So, I know you have some things to share, and I want to make sure you get to those. So, you can share your screen.
Yes, it'd be an honor. One moment. Let me do a share screen. I love Canva. So
I'm
it's,
going to learn it.
oh, it is a hot tool, Robin. You will, once
It's
you
on.
get in the rhythm, oh my gracious. Yes, it is very convenient. So these are, I'll back up for a second. So leader qualities. When I go and interview leaders, I don't, this is something we teach people when they go to an event or anywhere for that matter. When we go to an event, sometimes we're thinking about what we want to say, what we want to talk about, what we want to share versus what we are looking to learn. And so one thing that I teach people about before they go to an event, I say there's 3 things that would massively impact the receiving and the gift of that event. And that is considering this, what is my focus? So I ask them to share with me what their focus is. What are the outcomes that they're looking for? What is their mission possible in their business right now? So their vision, their goal, their incremental or their long-standing. Okay. Then number 2, I'm asking them, what would be one question that you could ask that will provide you the information that will serve that mission possible? One question that you will ask as you're connecting with people. And then the third thing that I request that they prepare in advance of those events is what would be one share, one contribution, one thing that will bring value to someone else. See, most people, when they stand before a leader, they're not thinking about what they're asking. They're thinking about what they're going to tell them. And so the basis of this is that I go out and I ask leaders, what do you recognize? What do you notice about people that will achieve the highest level or have achieved the highest level of leadership in your organization? What have you noticed about them? I ask them, what are their qualities? What are their goals? What are their reasons? Share with me talk to me about this. And this is what started to come back, and I'm going to share it with you. And then there's an aspect of this. So number 1, they have a desire for a life beyond their current circumstance. So they are looking for more than what they're currently experiencing. What is important about this word is desire. See, there are a lot of people with potential. I don't even use that word. You've got a lot of potential. What we're saying to the person is, you're close, no cigar. It's like, you're almost there. We'll see how it goes. Versus when somebody has desire, that means they're hungry. And hungry people will do far more than the full. Hungry. So they are clear that they have a desire for a life beyond their current circumstance. They have a desire for more. The second thing, as I have been interviewing people and asking them for their insights and wisdom and brilliance, they said the second thing that I noticed is work ethic. They're willing to put in the work. They are willing. They're not just talking about it. They're not just writing about it. They're not just thinking about it. They're not just journaling about it. They are not posting and praying only. They are putting in the work and saying, who am I connecting with? How am I connecting with them? What will create the greatest return for my investment of time? What will be fruitful? Who is a worthy investment? Who can I work with? How can I replicate this? So work ethic, it's not just waiting for something to happen, hoping something happens, hoping success falls from the sky and lands on them. It is willing to take the action. I like to call it activate. And when you're in activation, you're less likely to sabotage. Number 3, resilient. This is an important key point. So resiliency. What this means is they're not easily offended. Their leader, and this is one woman shared this with me. She goes, Grace, I can give feedback. They're open to feedback. They're receptive to feedback. They ask and request it and they don't take it personally. So they're not offended by what I'm sharing with them. They know I have their best interest at the center of this feedback. So resiliency is, it's not taking it like, oh, that's about me. It's not. A person's no. It's so funny. I was having a conversation, several conversations. I talk a lot, as you can see. Resilient, having a conversation with a person around feedback. I said, to me, a no is feedback. It's nothing more than feedback. A yes is feedback. It's nothing more than feedback. It's not about me. It's about where they're at in this moment. So how can I glean some of that feedback, and rather than judge it, be open to it? Thank you. So if somebody says, no, you know what, this business is not for me, thank you for your transparency. Thank you for your willingness to explore the possibility. I respect your decision. If at some point that were to be different, I'm open to a conversation. This door is open. So number 3, resilient. Number 4, plugged in. That means that they're attending events such as this. They're on conference calls. They're attending corporate functions. They're participating. When we participate in business events and activities, we come back with new tools in our toolbox, just like we wouldn't go and repair a car with one wrench. And by the way, I have no idea how to repair a car. Thank goodness that, I have a great husband, and I have a mechanic. So no, not clear on how to repair a car, just knowing that I know that it doesn't require one wrench. It requires more than one wrench. And that's the same thing in our business. So when we go to events and plug in to messages, be clear on what you're looking for so that you can find it. See, when somebody says to me, oh, I didn't get anything out of that event, or that was a boring event, or, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? And to me, what that's saying is they didn't have clarity. See, as Brene Brown said it once, she said, clear is kind. Unclear is unkind. So if I'm not clear with why I'm there, the reason I am plugging in, I'm being unkind to myself, unkind to my business, and unkind to the people that I lead and serve. Number 5, they're coaching and coachable. When number 3 person in the world globally for an organization that has several million people in it, she shared this with me. She came to our event at one stage, and she said, Grace, I didn't know what coaching was. And I was calling training coaching, which is a common misconception. And so coaching is what we're saying when we coach someone is you're a worthy investment. I see something in you. When somebody extends the invitation to coach you, they're saying, I see something in you, you're worth it. When you're coachable, what you're saying is, I am willing to be uncomfortable. I'm willing to have my comfort zone expanded. I remember I was in, my goodness, where was I? I was in Gold Coast, Australia, speaking for a company. And I loved it. This woman stood up at the conference, and she was like, the comfort zone is where your goals and dreams go to die. And I believe that. So when you're coachable, that's where we are expanding the comfort zone. Many people, they don't want to get out of it, because if they get out of their comfort zone, they're going to want to hop back in. It's just like getting out of, in Montana, when it's cold outside, taking your duvet off and then saying to yourself, oh yeah, get out here for a second. Okay, I'm going to get back in. So those were a few thoughts that I wanted to share with you specific. Now, what I want to note here, Miss Robin, is that these are not qualities that we are required to be born with. Actually, these are qualities that we can develop. These are qualities that we can exercise and make stronger. So that's what I'm bringing to you.
Well, I want to comment on a few of those, because one of the things that I share with people when you're looking for who the leaders are in your business, to write a list of qualities and characteristics and be intentional about it, because the list you gave, I'm going to add to my list, because I have a lot of similar, but not the same. And I know that the feedback part, working with Stephen Covey, he used to say, feedback is the breakfast of champions. And isn't that wonderful?
Yes, I love it.
You can use that one. That's from Stephen, and it really helped me. The desire, because in our profession, you don't need to know anything, and anybody can be successful if they want to. And so that desire is key. And the work ethic, I mean, there's people that they make up in time and effort that they don't have in skill and talent, and they just go for it and they get there because of that, work ethic. I think in the world these days, resilience is one of the most valuable things any of us can have, because we have so much uncertainty on our future, but we have control of ourselves, and to be allowing. And I actually was just going to write an article on resilience, so I love it. Plugged in, yes, coaching. And we've talked a lot about coaching and the definition of coach from, I don't know if you know this one, but from 16th century England, conveying a valued person from where they are to where they want to be. And that's our job, is to help people get where they want to be. So those were fabulous. So I invite everyone to really take those things to heart that Grace said. So I can't believe it, Grace. It's 9:30 already. We're at 30 minutes. So what I know, we could go on and on and on, and we might have to have you back because there's so much. It's been a gift. And so what other final words of inspiration, content, anything you want to share with people? And then you did agree to stay on for some Q&A. So if anyone has questions for Grace, you can put them in the chat or the Q&A section, and then we'll address some of those after Grace is finished.
Absolutely. Thank you for the time that you've dedicated to this. And I'm open to Q&A and so forth. One thing I was going to share with you is we have complimentary resources on the DSWA. So if you access dswa.org, dswa.org, it stands for Direct Selling World Alliance, you'll be able to access complimentary insights and information that will support you to advance, or to take you from where you are to where you'd prefer to be. So definitely check that out. And then look at the events page. A lot of events that my mom particularly is leading at this stage. So thank you for that, Miss Robin. I'm open to questions. Let's bring it.
So I just want to put an exclamation point on that. dswa.org is the organization that you and your mom founded that is in service to our profession. And there's a lot of resources there. There's all kinds of, when you do become a member, there's amazing benefits. I'm a lifetime member. I don't even think you have that anymore.
Yes, we don't. We don't. It's very special. So yes.
I'm honored because it's made a huge difference. My affiliation with DSWA has made a huge difference in my life and the kind of people I've met, other leaders in other companies. It's been amazing. And a lot of people on this call know Terry Warner, and I met Terry through Grace and Nikki through DSWA. And so let's see, we have a few questions here, and Jennifer is asking, when would feedback be appropriate or inappropriate?
Okay. That's such a great question, Jennifer. Thank you for asking it. So there's a few things. I love what my husband says. He's a football coach, and he says, to his players, it's not when I'm giving you feedback that there's meant to be some concern. It's when I'm not. When I'm not, it's likely that I've moved on. I'm focusing on another player.
Wow.
To develop them and their skill set. So that I thought was really sound, great advice from somebody that's been coaching for decades. And he still looks cute. I mean, just saying, 8 kids later, he's still looking good. Thank goodness.
Love it.
And so, all right, when would feedback be appropriate or inappropriate? It would be inappropriate when we're coming from a place of judgment. So judging someone, feedback is not meant to judge someone, to put someone down, or to make them change in any way. What it is it's an opportunity to reveal a possible blind spot that they may have. And so it's meant to be compassion. That's what we teach about, is compassionate feedback, which means that it's kind, it's often one topic. Sometimes what happens with feedback is there's certain behavioral styles that want to sweep it under the rug. Oh, it wasn't that bad. Let me sweep it under the rug. Oh, still not that bad. And there's this sweeping under the rug because it's uncomfortable to give the feedback. And so what happens is that we can put it in the back of our dump truck, load the dump truck up full of feedback, and then we they take us to a point where we just can't take it anymore. So we back our dump truck up, beep, 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 and then we lift it up and drop all of that feedback on the person, and they don't even know what hit them. See, it's not, when we sweep feedback under the rug, we're not giving a person an opportunity to have an awareness of what they may or may not be doing. They may not even know. They don't know. I like to say that people, forgive them for they do not know. I mean, or forgive myself for I didn't know. How can I do better now that I know better? So inappropriate feedback is judgmental. It is looking to change a person, whereas really appropriate feedback is it's shining a light on one topic at a time. And it's from my perspective, it's my observation. It's not we, us, the world, the team, the organization. They'll feel ganged up on. They're like, who's we? Who's us? Who's the world? So being specific that this is my observation, or this is something, may I have permission to share? That's another important point. Feedback is appropriate when we have permission. So how many people are like very receptive and excited about feedback that's imposed upon them or force-fed?
Well, that piece is so powerful, because so often when people say, are you open for feedback? There's a judgment that comes after that. So when it's done with kindness and no judgment, are you open? Do I have permission to share an observation I made? When you say this, what it feels like to me is this. And so, like you said, it's not about anyone else. It's about me and my experience when you do whatever. And I know Gregory and I do that with each other. Are you open to some feedback?
Yes.
We ask
Yes, we can ask them even how open.
Yeah, it's a big one, and we're constantly working with each other. And because of my background, he can be quite red, and directive. So it's a journey for all of us. Okay, that was beautiful. And I hope that helped you, Jennifer. And Anne is asking, do you have any tips for the person who sees themselves as coachable, makes an attempt to move forward and tries the new behavior and succeeds, but still moves back into their cocoon?
Okay. So there's a few thoughts. Sometimes what happens is, and I see this often actually, when companies have a cycle for a year, so there's a yearly cycle, that yearly cycle, when it comes up, it's like a stop sign versus a road sign. Okay, stop sign is we're going to stop. Road sign means we're driving through it. It's on the side of the road. We're still moving forward. The key here is oftentimes the cocoon happens because the person hasn't reset. Oftentimes when there's a cycle of an annual business in our profession, there's no reset. That's why you have this feast often that last month of the year. People are running on adrenaline, and then they slide into the finish line, and then they've got an opportunity to regroup for a month. Like, let me recover from what just happened. So they were working off of adrenaline versus working off of passion. So whenever, and there's something else that's coming to my spirit right now on your question, and thank you for your question. So there's 3 indicators when a reason for their business or a why for their business is not clear. You may want to write this down. So 3 indications that a why is no longer clear. It's like a hovering. So it's like a person gets to a place in the business, gets to a place in leadership or gets to a place in sales volume, and they get comfortable. It's like they took out a hammock and stayed there for extended periods of time. That's an indicator that their why or the cocoon is happening. Another indicator is that they have a feast and a famine month. So it's a high, wow, what just happened, and then extreme lows. It's like extremes, highs and lows. And then another indicator is that there's fallout. So there's this digression that's happening, and that they're not coming to calls. They're distancing themselves. A good friend of mine, a top leader, she said, Grace, people don't leave when they're leaving. They left long before. People don't leave when they're leaving our business. They left long before. So be mindful of this. If there is cocoon action happening, that's where we get on the call and we have a conversation. When you originally became a part of our company and a part of our community, these were some of the reasons that were important to you at that time. Is that still the same, or is something different? Is it still the same or something different? They can say, yeah, it's still the same. Sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. If they don't have a representation of that vision or that why or that reason, out of sight, out of mind. Or it's actually different. We've had people that are like, oh my gosh, my reason for this business was sending my children to college. And oh my gosh, they're out of college. They have their own families. Like we've got grandchildren now. And so no wonder they're in the cocoon. So those are some thoughts to think of, to consider, an indicator. So, and also I'll mention this, that's for us too. So some of you may be even saying, oh my gosh, I'm in 1, 2, or all 3 of those hover highs and lows in my business, or digressions. That would be where, rather than waiting for someone to offer coaching to us, that's where I take the initiative and request it. Who would be willing to coach me and mentor me around this? I even had that recently where I contacted my coach and a couple of coaches, actually, a couple of them. And I said, oh, every great coach has a coach. So by the way, and I said, I have an opportunity here and I would like to collaborate with you on this because I want to address it now so I can bounce forward faster. I don't want to stay in the cocoon. I want to rise to the occasion. I want to fly, soar, make movement. So those are a few thoughts. How are you with that, Miss Ann?
That was wonderful. You said it earlier, Grace, about when people stretch too far, they jump back. And
Yeah.
so, so much of what we get to do and what our profession is beautiful at, if you're in the right community environment, is creating a safe place for people to stretch. And if you stretch too much, it's like, it's scary and you pull back into that cocoon. So maybe sometimes it's too much of a stretch and they need to do something in smaller steps. What do you think about that?
I love it. I love that, Robin. I absolutely agree with you. One thing that I like to set the tone for with people I collaborate with is, how can you expand your comfort zone today? So what would be a way that you can expand your comfort zone today? And then the next day, what would be a way to expand the comfort zone? Can you imagine like who you are becoming a week from now because you've intentionally expanded your comfort zone that day, that week, that month, that year, that decade? You are bound to sometimes even in my own process, in my own journey, I had a lady yesterday. She goes, Grace, like I see something completely wow. And I said, well, because I'm very clear. When you're clear, you're wow. When you're not clear, it's like, oh, so clear, wow, not clear, whoa.
I love that. Wow and whoa. And I'm going to live in that question because I think that's one of the most valuable tools we have, is living in questions. How can I expand my comfort zone today? And even if it's just a little bit, and we've been working with habits and habit stacking, and it's the little things done consistently that create the long-term significant changes. And Anne said, thank you very much, with lots of exclamation points. So yeah, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Let's see, we have people that are loving things on Facebook Live too. So we're on Facebook Live and we will be on YouTube. This will be created in a YouTube, and I'll get that off to you, Grace, and it'll be available for everyone. And what a gift. I mean, your passion, oh my gosh. You absolutely embody the absolute best of our profession and growing people. Gregory and I, that's what your mom connected us with someone, and we wrote a chapter for a book, and we grow people. And And that's what we do here. That's what we're doing in this profession. And we get to see people from no matter where you come from, you can be, go to places you never thought possible in this profession. Any final comments, Grace?
Oh my goodness. Well, I admire who you be and all that you stand for, Robin. And I'm grateful to see all these lives impacted by your yes. See, everybody that's on this line had an option. They had an option to say no, they had an option to say maybe, they had an option to say we'll see. And you said yes, and look at all the lives that are impacted by your yes. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank all of you for making the time to be on this call today. Keep moving. Progress. Every step forward is progress. So it's a step. Sometimes we're like, oh, it's got to be a mile. It's got to be a marathon. And really think about it. If you took a step today or expanded your comfort zone, you made progress. So sometimes it's the celebration of those steps that give us the momentum for more. And that's what we want to see for you. So blessings to each and every one of you. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Gregory. Thank you, family. We'll see you soon.
Okay. And so everyone, you can go to dswa.org, and there's lots of amazing resources for our profession, and the 2 books, Build It Big and More Build It Big, and your mom book, your mama entrepreneur book. How wonderful. And I think we need to be closer, Grace.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, you're always welcome to come visit, and I'll go visit you. I'm sure you love some sunshine, and we love snow. So we're good.
Okay. Well, you can bring them all over here. I know you have 8 children, and we could fit them on the floor and everything to go to Yellowstone. So we'll do that. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye, Thank you so much. Happy day.
Happy day, everybody.
And living in the question, how can I expand my comfort zone today? We'll leave everyone with that. How's that?
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.